Lava.
And when you Julio plays Yu-Gi-Oh! All right, friends. Thank you all for coming to our last mission of the year. It is so there's not a lot for announcements today. Just if you want to buy a T-shirt, talk to Tulio. And also we have sodas. We have I forget which one. I forget what your names for them were, Ryan.
It was that was due last week. Pepsi. And studying until I'm done sprayed.
Yeah, real sodas. They're only $1, so buy them while you can. And
Where does
that's
the money
all.
go?
Oh yeah, money goes to the International Bipolar Foundation in honor of Carrie Fisher.
Nope. Does it?
Anyway, yeah, so that's it for announcements today. I would like to hand things over to Ava for ranks, I believe.
That is correct. Just to be clear, STAR has made a donation to the International Bipolar Foundation. We sent out the donation stuff today. Julio, how much did we donate? Awesome. That is the, yeah. I am up here right now to announce people who are getting ranks this semester. I did most of it alphabetically. I wrote it down because I forget things. So first we have Alex Claypool, who is going from a lieutenant junior grade to a lieutenant for longevity. We have John Finch, who is going from lieutenant to lieutenant commander for longevity. Nick Foster, who is going from ensign to lieutenant junior grade for being on PR committee this semester. Logan King is going from lieutenant to lieutenant commander for longevity. Noah Reuter is going from lieutenant to lieutenant commander for running a mission. And Peter, are you still here? How do you pronounce your last name? Peter Sluka is going from ensign to lieutenant junior grade for being on PR committee this semester. How do you say your last name? One more time. Thibault? Thank you. And Deborah Thibault is going from ensign to lieutenant junior grade for volunteering at Starfest 2018. Now, STAR also awards merit ranks for outstanding work to the club. This semester, we have one merit rank we would like to award, and we would like to award Alex Ferrio with his second merit rank. He has done so much this semester. He took on a ton for Starfest. He has been here the entire time, and oh my gosh, you've done so much this semester. Thank you so much for what you've done for STAR. You are now a captain. Wonderful. Before I call up my lovely individuals for changing of the guard.
So actually, if I may interrupt, there is one more rank that Emma has neglected to mention. So for your exemplary service, always stepping up to the plate to making sure the ball was never dropped, and your strong faith in the adversities of leadership with stoic and calm resolve, on behalf of the bridge crew, I'm honored to present to you your second merit rank.
Taylor was scared. Before I call up the current bridge crew and the incoming bridge crew, I would like to announce that I will not be serving as captain next year. It is not the right choice for, calm down. It is not the right choice for me in my final year at RIT. I apologize, and I feel that I will be leaving STAR in a very good set of commanding hands. Cameron Bages is going to be our captain next year. He is going to do a wonderful job. I have complete confidence in his abilities.
This is how democracy dies.
Guys, we do a runoff system, and so we can see. Please don't get scared. Now I would like to call up the current and incoming bridge crew, and we're going to do changing of the guard.
Here, let's see if we can get everyone on camera. Pretend like the guys. Yeah, you'll scoot over.
All right, Logan, you are welcome to start.
I will leave you.
I stand relieved.
I relieve you. I stand relieved.
I relieve you.
I stand relieved.
I relieve you. I stand relieved. Relieve you. All right, there is one thing that I do want to say in light of my new position. I am deeply saddened by the previous captain-elect's necessity to step down, but humbly and graciously accept the office in her stead. That being said, I do not accept the formal rank of captain. Official procedure states that the rank of captain shall be awarded if a member is elected to the position of captain during a club election. I have not fulfilled this criteria and therefore feel as though receiving the rank under these conditions would be unfair to the long line of impressive captains before me. That said, I have no intention of finishing the following year at my current rank. I intend to use this irregularity as a constant reminder and motivator to work as hard as I can to perform above and beyond the office and the duties entrusted upon me, as demonstrated by the influential, compassionate, and driven leaders before me. They have set forth a powerful legacy, one that I would be honored and humbled to uphold. Thank you all.
You're on this council, you're on this club, but
We do not grant you the rank of captain. I do not grant myself the rank of captain.
No, you.
All right, everybody. So I would like to officially open up the first mission of the 2018-2019 Bridge Crew. Having it over to my communications officer, the Hammer, to get us started.
Yeah, run down the rules.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the soapbox meeting. The rules are pretty simple for this. Instead of having one person stand in front of you and give you a spiel that's been prepared long in advance, you guys get to do the spiel and you guys get to talk about whatever you'd like in front of everyone. If you'd like to discuss a sci-fi topic, it needs to be sci-fi, right? If you'd like to discuss
Everything is
sci-fi
sci-fi.
and a topic, you can come up here and write your name below this line. And then continue to put your topics below one another, and we will try to cycle through them so that everyone gets a turn. Is there a
5-minute time limit. Like you can be up here for 5-ish minutes. It's not a goal. Have fun with it.
all right. We'll give you some time to write down a topic if you'd like, and if you think of one as someone else is talking, you can also come up after the fact. If you do have a spoiler in your topic that you don't want to give away to anyone, please be courteous and write next to it. Maybe let's put a star.
Like if you would like to rant about Infinity War, you may, but please give a loud spoiler warning before you spoil anything.
Oh boy.
It's angry.
It's the lecture.
All right, you get the lecture.
All right, everyone. I I'm Cameron Bages, and I'm here to speak to you all about something very important to me on the topic of normies. So, as we all know, occasionally we are infiltrated by someone who perhaps is not quite familiar with meme and meme culture. And there's only one thing that we say to these people in regards to that. Well, no, you're going to want to put that camera down, because there is no one that we think that reflects the topic of better than my personal friend and meme mentor, Noah Reuter. He's come to the front of the room.
When you walk in.
Everything is lost. We would like to present you with one of these emojis.
No, Cameron, I would like to present you.
In there somewhere. I'm Alex now.
What are these?
Wow, thank you. This is awful. I hate it. Wow. All right. Well, this was a plot twist indeed. All right. Thank you, everybody. That is. Do I get a speech? Oh yeah, you get a speech. In the uniform.
You forgot to do the ride. Oh my God. All right, so spoiler alert! No spoilers. I am going to give a long, drawn-out, sentimental speech later. Right now, I'd just like to make the formal announcement that the Infinity Stones are nothing but rip-offs of the Chaos Emeralds.
There are 6 of them. How could there be 6 Infinity Stones with 7 Chaos Emeralds? There were 6 of the other one. The 7th one is the present.
Hey Ryan, which came first?
Listen, does that mean there's a secret 7th Infinity Stone?
There's actually 12 Chaos Emeralds.
So, 1 year ago, I came up to you at the soapbox to tell you why Howard the Duck gets much more hate than deserves. And I know you're all thinking, he makes some good points, but it's still a movie in which a human girl forces a duck, and it has some lewdish scenes involving ducks. And now I come here 1 year later to tell you to look at Academy Award winning Shape of Water.
I am not beaming. I am talking about a wonderful continuation of a classic from the 50s, Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds started in 1955. It was a super marionation. It was, well, puppets. However, it was based around a very interesting topic of international rescue. The organization that the Thunderbirds, the ships used by this family, saved the world countless times, even though it was very choppy and very goofy, using large puppets to bounce around on a set to set up all these things. However, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because they remade it. I'm not talking about the live-action 2004 movie that had, though it had Bill Paxton and also Ben Kingsley as the villain. It did not take off very well. However, they just made it for the 50th anniversary in 2015. The revamp of the series called Thunderbirds Are Go. This new revamp has a lot of fun involved because they brought back the original large scale miniatures, bigatures is what Weta Workshop calls them. Because Weta Workshop, the group that does a lot of the little miniatures, or also a lot of props and other stuff for a lot of movies around, like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings or big movies. And so Weta Workshop created full recreations of the Thunderbird sets, full recreations of all the stuff. And it's fun because not only do they have a good mixture of actual models and new CG, but they also brought in a lot of wonderful voice casts, like David Tennant does a couple of voices. They also have the guy who was Corinth from Voltron. He's doing a lot of voices. And just all around, it is hilarious. And they are using some of the original episodes from the original series and revamping them to a new style to make it even more fun, which means more nerd.
I'm here to talk about why Star Trek Discovery is the most important Star Trek series. Because now, thanks to Star Trek Discovery, the majority of Star Trek series use Command Gold instead of Command Red, and Command Gold is just better. Thank you.
So someone mentioned normies earlier. I've never heard the term to refer to anything other than people who aren't anime fans. So, as someone who goes to anime club a lot, in fact, that's where I go at 8 o'clock at the Star meeting. I just have to point out that what's more normie than having a drift compatibility thing, and no one mentions Darling in the Franxx. Just saying, I was a little disappointed. But I did watch Pacific Rim Uprising and it was great.
At the time that we did that thing, wasn't there like Winter Cup games on the show? Oh, okay. Come on, guys. No, you did. Wait, what am I doing? Again? You know, we're literally just going to go to one. Okay. And then we just basically got you guys come over here. Stand right here. Don't sit over here. Go look over here. Sit here. Oh, wait, no, this is wrong. Oh no! Everything's going perfectly wrong. What? Oh, we're done. It's lost. Okay. It's lost. Why is it letting me have this? No, I can't call. Understandable. Undeniably, that was lost. Was that the clown? Oh, cool. No, yeah. As we can. That last one was awful.
Lost is officially dead.
Yeah, we killed it. Lost is dead.
That was the whole time.
It's dead. All right, everyone. I'm up here today to speak to you all about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is why robots punch. So one of the great things about the original Pacific Rim movie is that they really contextualize a lot of the things that they do throughout the movie, right? You know, a lot of people are like, oh, why don't they just put guns on the wall? And, you know, if you pay close attention, it very clearly states that it's because if you puncture a kaiju, that they'll bleed, and their blood is very highly toxic and corrosive and causes major ecological disasters, specifically because they come from the water and are often near the coast. It can spread very quickly and cause a lot of fish kills, and it can be a major problem. So how do you kill something without making it bleed? The answer is elbow rocket. So that's the baseline of it. Pacific Rim, however, goes a step further, and not just with elbow rocket, but also you might remember early on, the best Jaeger to ever walk the earth, Striker Eureka, fires rockets out of his chest. Oh, wow, wouldn't a rocket explosion cause a lot of blood? Well, the answer is no, because they are internal explosive rounds, which means they contact the kaiju, and then they explode inside without puncturing it. How does this happen? Who cares? It's cool. Oh yeah, hey, what the one he had the swords? The swords, he cut them right up. No, if you pay close attention, they glow red hot. They're cauterizing swords. They immediately seal up the wound that they create by just turning the blood to a solid. So there's no blood spill anywhere. Yes, Ryan.
You did it first.
So
So here's the thing, is that this is a pretty important detail that we see moving forward, particularly in Pacific Rim Uprising. And if you watch, once again, if you pay close attention to what happens in between the major monster fights, we can see that there's a significant less attention to this need to cauterize wounds. Racer Phoenix, for example, that Jaeger has a dedicated gunner. It shoots bullets, huge bullets, like the casings are like the size of cars. But there is no mention that these are specifically intended to cauterize the wounds. Furthermore, early on, we see Jaegers acting as a sort of police force, walking amongst the streets and making sure that certain protocols are followed. Also, we see through news snippets that there are large collections of protests against the PPDC. A pretty heavy implication that the Jaeger program continued, not for fear of another kaiju invasion, but rather preparing for an invasion of a different kind. Jaeger versus Jaeger fights, which we do see in the movie. However, spoilers, cool, nobody cares about Pacific Rim spoilers because it's about punching. That Jaeger was actually part kaiju. However, I feel like we have a major missed opportunity here to just watch humanity just go, like rock'em sock'em robots, right? Just like go to town, punch some heads off, like huge bullets, like that weird ball thing that, like, I don't know, that was okay. I've seen better. So basically what I'm saying here is that humanity continues to build their robots after they're pretty sure that they've convinced that they've closed the breach, so that they can eventually do war with each other. Everyone knows that this peace cannot last. And I think that's an important underlying theme in Pacific Rim Uprising that hasn't been brought up. Because yes, it did fall short of the original, but just like with the original, I think with a little bit of more time to reflect on the specific themes and motifs of the movie, we will see that movies with giant robots punching giant aliens deserve a very near and dear place in all of our hearts. Thank you.
It's the Stargate. Stargate. It's a Stargate. I'm sorry. It's also a Stargate.
Oh, yeah.
I really honestly thought it could be Stargate or
Sup, losers. On a 4-star start. I'm probably drunk right now in this game. My life spiraled after I left Star, so I'm here to tell you how Stargate is seeped into every single aspect of your lives. Yes, so you see, I started noticing the trend when Jason Momoa was up as Aquaman in the DC universe. So there you go. There's one Stargate actor. Then your God of War got voiced by Christopher Judge. That's another one. And then people started watching Dark Matter. That's Joseph Malozzi, one of the directors of Stargate. What I'm trying to tell you is, anything you enjoy right now, you can thank Stargate for.
no thanks.
Halo 5 wasn't there that.
John Chambers?
No, because I'm actually right.
Yeah.
Live stream.
Hi. What do you think of the game?
Hi, Mom.
No, what do you think?
So, what people have been whining for the last like 3 years about this game because it has sprint in it. Like, so Halo 5, okay, the campaign's garbage. I'm not even gonna touch that. But when you look at the multiplayer of this game, you see movement that, while some people may not see it as necessary, it still was cohesive and very focused on delivering a fun experience to a broad audience. And ultimately, I feel like if it hadn't got such a bad rap from its campaign, and if it hadn't gotten such and if Waypoint and people from there were like the worst kind of fans who whine about literally everything, then there might still be people playing it. But yeah, I don't know.
I didn't really have much planned for that. I kind of just wanted to put it up on the board for the shock value of it. But yeah.
All right, different versions of a character.
So one of the things that people in fandoms, especially big franchise fandoms, need to be very aware of, I think, and that is often overlooked, is that if there's multiple versions of a character, they're often not mutually compatible. For example, in the case of Pokemon, for example, you know, is Team Rocket a organization of faceless criminals led by a gym leader named Giovanni, or is it a couple of bumbling oafs and their talking cats? You know, these are very different takes on a similar concept. And most big fandoms have at least a couple of characters that are presented in different ways depending on which adaptation you're dealing with. And every so often, if I'm in a fandom, fan trying to willfully misinterpret certain details about a character's life in order to artificially try to make them fit into a single framework so that they can write their fanfic or RP blog. I feel like I wish that people were more attuned to the fact that sometimes characters are just different characters between adaptations. They may have the same name and the same appearance, but they're not really, I don't think, always the same character. And I wish that more people would take that into account.
You speak the truth.
Right? Next up, Epcot Disney's Lost Legacy.
It's not me or Joe. It's Bobby.
Does anybody know what it stands for?
Experimental polyester costumes of torture.
No. Joe.
Experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
Yes. Disney's original plan to create a real-world Tomorrowland, based off of his Tomorrowland from Disneyland.
The movie was bad.
It was good for the fact that it was created to show what he wanted for the original. Epcot was supposed to be a city of tomorrow where the greatest minds of the world and the greatest companies could come together to create, without any limitation, the future, build the future. However, with all of the trouble of trying to create a city in swamplands and trying to get the legal system to follow with that, when all he was known for was his parks and other stuff, Disney could not finish his project. And upon his death, his brother decided to turn it into a showcase of the world instead of the city of tomorrow, the future that it could have been. I mean, the Imagineers are building great, wonderful things just in the park, and all the movies that they make create new and wonderful technology. Imagine what would have happened if they actually had a city dedicated to creating new technologies. We would have already had flying cars. We would have had so much more. But instead, we have a showcase of the world that isn't even properly represented accurately. It's just a meme upon itself.
Yeah.
Me?
Okay, so before you were arguing over which franchise first came up with the idea, like the blades that like cauterize foods on their own, I just want to, I don't know if you were joking or not, but I want to let you all know, no franchise came up with that. That's an actual thing that's existed for a very long time.
Did the Muppets come up with it?
No, very ancient doctors did to cut off tumors.
Call to action.
All right. So, I will be talking about Infinity War, but no spoilers, since I have the movie in general. It's about how all of you may have found out today that Infinity War broke every opening weekend record of all time. It broke the domestic opening weekend record. It broke the global opening weekend record. It beat Fate of the Furious without using China. But I ask you it's time to dethrone Ferngully with blue people. It's time to take off Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time. Because honestly, it wasn't that good. It only got that much money because it was 3D. Honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. But Infinity War has 2 solid weeks before it gets challenged by Deadpool 2.
Also, the big thing about Avatar was that it was an IMAX. It's not an IMAX 3D. It costs way more per individual ticket.
I don't care. It's time to knock that movie off of the top of all time.
Be filmed 100%
I should know this.
Infinity War.
Wait, really?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes,
It was. 100% in IMAX. But
You're lying.
I'm not lying. Google it. Like now, you have a computer in front of you. Do it. Do it.
Barney, how do you see that?
So I want you to go see it again. Go see it in IMAX. Get your friends to go see it again. Call that one dude you met last week to go see it. Call people who live in England to go see it. Call people who live in China to go see it 30 times because they had nothing else to do over there. Yes.
Hey, you want to go see it?
If I have time this weekend, honestly. Yeah, finals. But we have 2 weeks before everyone goes to Deadpool 2. So let's do it. Also, Avatar made like $2.5 billion globally, but we can do it. I believe in all of you. I believe in the heart and soul of the cards or whatever. I believe in the heart of the gauntlet. The gauntlet needs a heart stone.
Next up, we have the podcast.
Today I learned. All right, so 2 years ago, I did a meeting about podcasts. Then I listened to way more podcasts, and at the beginning of this year, I talked about more podcasts. But now I listen to even more podcasts. So I'm going to talk about science fiction narrative podcasts, why they're really good and they're better than Welcome to Night Vale. So I'm gonna just pitch a couple, and then if anyone else wants to talk about them while I'm up here and use my 5 minutes, go ahead. So the Bright Sessions. It's a therapist who only counsels people with superpowers, but they also have a lot traditional mental illness. You've got a time traveler who only moves back in time when she has a panic attack. You have someone with an addictive personality who becomes addicted to walking in other people's dreams. The Zachary Ava, someone help me out here. I can't think of any. My brain is mush.
You have an empath who is dealing with the pressures of not having fitting into heteronormative sexual identity.
Also, on that note, show is super LGBT friendly. They actually have an asexual character, which is a nice change of pace. So yeah, show is absolutely excellent. Also excellent, Ars Paradoxica. Someone accidentally invents time travel, goes back to 1940, and instead of just being like a Back to the Future, they shenanigan and they go home. It's basically turns the future of humanity pivots as they develop more time travel related technology, both actual literal time travel and the ability to spend time processing things outside of time. It's hard to explain, but it's like a spy thriller and it's got great characters. I also listened to the Black Tapes, which is really, really good for 2 seasons, and then it's over. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Limetown is 6 episodes, 4 hours of your life, and it is some of the best fiction I've ever experienced. It's so good. It's so neat. It's like, I don't know. It's like a conspiracy theory show on the History Channel, but they're actually acknowledging that it's fake. What are some other podcasts that you nerds got me into? The Far Meridian is about a girl with agoraphobia who lives in a lighthouse that teleports every day.
which is wild and wacky. And then, of course, there's all the stuff that the people who make Welcome to Night Vale make. Alice Isn't Dead, which was excellent for the first 2 seasons. I haven't listened to the 3rd season. And Within the Wires, which is incredible for 1 season and then gets boring. Anyone else want to talk about podcasts?
We're not sure what they're going with. Like, they kind of brought it back together, but like season 2 was just sort of
world building,
informing you about the world that season 1 took place in without the characters until like the very end. But like, hopefully that context is building up towards season 3, bringing it all together in an interesting way. Also, we should talk about Wolf 359.
Oh, all right. If you like Star Trek, but like arguably darker, I would consider it darker than at least TOS. I love Doug Eiffel, and I will fight anyone who doesn't. All right, so Wolf 359 is about it's a spaceship that orbits the star Wolf 359 and observes reports. It starts as a comedy and then goes wildly off track. It's got great characters, great acting, very theatrical, which is not something you see a lot in good podcasts. And it's over, which is sad, but also means you could just binge the whole thing. It did have a long run.
It's not like Slime Town where 6 episodes and then
Slime Town season 2 is coming eventually.
But like episodes and then it falls through. This is 61 episodes.
So yeah, if you want to talk to me, if you want to learn more about literally any of these podcasts or other podcasts I listen to that have nothing to do with science fiction, talk to me. Also, yes. Are you gonna?
I want to. What?
Oh, never mind. Go.
I'm not going to throw a billion retro unless you want me to. But no, with Wolf 359, I was going to add a couple fun things. If you think Star Trek is like too far out in the future for it to be like for the technology to make sense, Wolf 359 is trying to make its technology a bit closer to current space travel while still allowing them to be where the story needs to be. And the other thing about it is 2 of the characters are voiced by the same voice actor. So when you get to the episode where they have a video of them performing the episode and he is trying to voice both of those characters arguing with each other, it's hilarious.
Also, Bright Sessions is a musical episode. Very important. Yes. No. Tell me more. That sounds super cool. I'm glad you told me about it. You also reminded me of King Falls AM, which is just Night Vale but better.
Alexandria Archives is also really cool. It's about this girl who runs a late night college radio show at Alexandria University, and spooky as heck stuff happens there. But they do a lot of like tour stuff too, and it's real interesting.
I love me some Lovecraft.
So we're doing the whole thing.
No. Sorry. No.
But
All right.
Why would that? But it has nothing to do with it.
Consider podcasts as a viable entertainment source, especially when you're walking around or doing the dishes. Yes.
I'm just curious if it's on my queue. Have you listened to The Phenomenon?
Yeah.
No.
I haven't listened to it yet.
No,
But
I have not.
Is that when like people can't go outside?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it yet. I just
I thought that was a
heard
book.
interesting things that told me I should stop hearing things about it and just listen to it at some point.
You can also read
I'm like 3 episodes from being caught up on Ars Paradoxica before I listen to anything else.
I'm currently listening to Critical Role. So I'll talk to you guys about the podcast in about 4 years or so.
Oh,
Don't stop it. It's not. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
how many of you have played Pokemon Platinum? Anyone here? Okay, yeah. So I like Pokemon Platinum. I played it a few years back. The really funny thing about it is that I'm pretty sure it's a ripoff of an older anime called No. And the reason why I say this is because the villain of that game is basically a clone of the villain of Noeen, whose name is, well, Noeen. Let me explain. So the villain in Pokemon Platinum is a guy named Cyrus. He's 27 years old, and he wants to basically rewrite the entire universe from scratch so that there could be no conflict. That is basically the plot of Noeen. Noeen's plan is to destroy the entire universe and rewrite it from scratch so that there can be no more pain and suffering. Now, that might seem like a coincidence, but the similarities don't stop there. I'll start with the basic one. Both of these characters are almost certainly the same age. We're told that Cyrus is 27 years old late in Pokemon Platinum. We're never told how old Noeen is, but we do know that he's 12 when the series begins. And when they finally meet him in the mystical dimension that he's created for himself, the heroes, that takes place 15 years into the future. Or it can be reasonably expected that it takes 15 years in the future based on other plot details. What do you get when you add 12 to 15? You get 27. So they're the same age. In and of itself, that might seem like a coincidence too, but the similarities, again, do not stop there. We know, for instance, that Cyrus grew up in a city called Sunnyshore's, which is a coastal city in the southern tip of Hoenn, which is, no, it's not Hoenn, it's Sinnoh, where the fourth generation Pokemon games take place. Now, in Noeen, Noeen actually takes place in our world in Hokkaido, which is the island that inspired Sinnoh, and Noeen was born and raised in the town of Hakodate, which is a little coastal city at the southern tip of Hokkaido. Pretty crazy, right? So, yeah, basically, and it gets even better. Cyrus, we learn at the end of the game, was forced by his parents to work really, really hard in his school and basically not allowed to have a social life. He eventually felt rejected, and this was the start of his villainous track. Funnily enough, Noeen, as a boy, also had a parent who pushed him to succeed too hard in school. To be fair, she did eventually get better, but the similarity is uncanny. So, in summary, I strongly suspect that Pokemon has basically been having a love affair with Noeen ever since it began. If you need even more evidence, someone recently made a, does anyone here, I shouldn't say that, does anyone here watch Game Theory? It's a YouTube channel?
Quite familiar. I just choose not to watch it.
Okay. Well, I bring it up because the guy who made that video had an entire video on the Pokemon multiverse, which is all about how the Pokemon multiverse is really a series of interlocking dimensions in which different choices were made and different events take place and play out in different ways, which is also how the world of Noeen operates.
But what is Pokemon Diamond? Watch Noeen and say, hey, let's get
Who knows? And here is another last bit of evidence that I just find so interesting. So, as you're probably aware, Pokemon Platinum is actually a reboot of slightly older games from the same generation called Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out the exact same year that Noeen did, and then Pokemon Platinum came out a little while later. The funny thing is, the Cyrus we meet in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is less like Noeen than the version we meet in Pokemon Platinum. Weird coincidence. Yes. So yeah, that is my theory about how Pokemon totally copied Noeen and has probably been doing so ever since. Thank you.
Metroid 2.
Before I say anything, does anyone not want to hear spoilers about Metroid 2, the Return of Samus? Which one? Metroid 2: The Return of Samus, AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake, or Metroid Samus Returns, the 3DS remake, or Metroid 4, aka Metroid Fusion. Oh, okay.
All the same.
What?
Are we all the same?
No, they're
Except the last one.
except the last one. But if people don't want spoilers, then I will just skip this.
Well, I mean, there's not one plot in that trilogy, but
This looks
the
familiar.
other
I
games
think it
revolve
was
around the events of Metroid 2.
Yeah. Is that okay? Okay, cool. So, at the end of last year, well, at last year's E3, Nintendo announced a new game called Metroid Samus Returns, which was a remake of Metroid 2: The Return of Samus for the Game Boy, which at the time, so like, it has not aged well, as with many Game Boy games, but using the limitations of the Game Boy, I can appreciate as a game designer what they accomplished in terms of making it, using the Game Boy screen to make this alien world feel claustrophobic. But more importantly, they used what they had to push a theme of, for people who don't know, Metroid 2 is where Metroid 1 was just about exploring this planet and you meet the titular creatures called the Metroids, who basically attach themselves to any living thing and suck out its life energy. They're super space parasites. Metroid 2 sees Samus on a mission to eradicate every Metroid from a planet, basically commit genocide and wipe out all of the Metroids. The original Metroid 2 had this theme of like making you think about over time, think about what the Metroids have done to the planet and then what you are doing to them, which worked really well on its own when at the end of the game, this is a spoiler bit, when you kill the Queen Metroid, which was the last Metroid you had to kill, an egg hatches and now there is one Metroid alive, and because you were the first thing it saw, it's treating you as its mother, and you choose to spare this Metroid's life and escape with it. And on this climb back to the surface, it gives you an opportunity to reflect on the game experience and how you basically almost wiped out a species. On the other hand, Metroid Samus Returns, the new remake for the 3DS, has introduced a bunch of new mechanics like these like cinematic kill shots anytime you use one of the new melee attacks on enemies, to the point where it's not asking you to think about what you are doing. It's asking you to enjoy the fun of killing things. And even at the end of the game, when you get the baby Metroid, whereas in the original, the music kind of slowed down and gave you an opportunity to reflect, your entire way back up to the surface, the baby Metroid isn't there to be a reminder of like what you almost destroyed. The baby Metroid's there to help you kill more stuff. Because now it can kill stuff while you kill stuff. And it all sets up for an extra new shoehorned in boss battle where you get to dramatically kill more stuff with the help of this new killing friend. Overall, Nintendo has taken this game that was about, among other things, considering the implications of genocide, which led into Metroid 4, where you find out the Metroids actually served a purpose in this ecosystem, and by eradicating all but one of them and having that one taken into captivity, essentially removing them from the ecosystem, you've actually screwed up the entire ecosystem and thrown things out of balance, because the things the Metroids hunted are now growing out of control. So it's set up incredibly well for that, on top of just self-contained, making you think about your actions in a video game, where like even games today struggle to do that. This happened back in, when it came out in, I want to say late 80s. All this to say, there's another, a fan remake of Metroid 2 called AM2R, or another Metroid 2 remake, that I would like to strongly recommend, if you have heard any of the hype around Metroid Samus Returns or the upcoming Metroid Prime 4, or the fairly likely chance that the people who made Metroid Samus Returns might make another Metroid sequel, consider playing AM2R instead of Samus Returns, because it makes a much greater effort to stay faithful to what Metroid 2 was trying to say, while also building out the world of Metroid 2 with the capabilities of modern hardware and software. And in general, just like play the 2D Metroid games. They're really good, and with all the focus on first-person shooters, a lot of people have forgotten how great a job they did at storytelling in the old 2D Metroid games. Yeah.
Yeah, Samus Returns, it didn't feel like Metroid 2 the way AM2R did, but it at least felt like a Metroid game. It felt kind of like a 2D Metroid Prime game.
Honestly, I feel like Samus Returns was Mercury Steam, the developer, proving to Nintendo that they could make Metroid 5, a hypothetical sequel to Metroid Fusion.
I heard that, yeah, originally they wanted to make Metroid Fusion.
Like, a lot of the agility that Samus gets in Metroid Fusion because of having the fusion suit is present in Samus Returns, which doesn't make sense because it's 2 games earlier in the timeline, 3 games earlier if you count Other M. But on the other hand, that sort of thing, if there is a more combat-focused mission to pursue in Metroid 5, that focus on killing might make more sense.
Yeah, that and Samus Returns didn't feel quite. It felt kind of. It didn't have a good enough frame rate for, like, snappy gameplay that the older 2D games were known for. It felt kind of like. It felt like the N64 Metroid that never was.
Huh. I haven't heard that, but I kind of see what you mean. I should hand it off to the next person. I don't know what that is, but I assume it has to do with some sort of canon.
The next one is either a cannon or a giraffe head.
Ooh, giraffe head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the neck?
It's just the head. Yeah.
Well, it's a canon. And that's what I hear about. Okay, so what I've been noticing a lot recently is when it comes to fandoms is they get way over obsessed over what is canon and not. The best example would be Star Wars. Or is it?
Star Wars doesn't even know its own canon.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yet there's many fans that argue what is canon or not. Even when Disney releases a list of even when Disney releases a list saying what is canon and not, there are fans who still debate over what's canon. And then there's fans who refuse to acknowledge what canons exist. Okay, so one example would be Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Love it or hate it, but right now there's still an ongoing petition where people are trying to strike it, where they believe that if it gets enough signatures, it's strike from canon. Yeah, that's not how it works.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Not the queen. Okay. Please. Force sensitive being that feels that Lucas force sensitive. Drags him under the water to baptize him.
Wait, force sensitive? How many minutes?
You've told us this story a million times, Cam.
At least 4. But no.
Well, okay, so the point is, we're getting way too obsessed over what's canon on. Like, I'm right now looking at the petition site right now that's still ongoing. Right now they have 103,600. Okay, it's rising up. 666 62 people have signed it.
No, it's almost like this is like the same problem that happened before Legends was coming. It also
Exactly.
happens again. It's
668 now. 669. It's rising. Yeah. So according to them, these need 150,000 signatures to raise something for canon. Okay, but I don't know, many. And they made many more money, and they made more money. Made all the monies. The point, but the point is, we're talking about a fictional series, all right? Technically, if none of the stuff that happens in that movie or in anything happens in real life, so who cares? Fair. But
they're friends, man.
Well, it's not just Star Wars. I just brought up Star Wars as an example. But if it comes to any fandom, really, there's many people who argue about what's canon and not. Especially like one thing is being like open-ended games. Yes, Joe?
When two franchises cross over and one presents the canon and the other doesn't.
Are you referring to Muppets?
Yes. They have a crossover with Star Wars. Muppets never accept their canon, so it's okay. Muppets, but it's not canon to Star Wars.
That means Muppets is in Star Wars Legends.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, anything
but the Muppet Show episode, yes, starring the stars of Star Wars.
Not the stars, like the characters, not the actors. Well, both. They had Luke Skywalker and his cousin Mark Hamill.
Okay. The point is, literally anything can be canon if you choose to. Hell, your poorly written fan fiction and it can be canon. Granted, no one will recognize it. Exactly. Your headcanon is okay. Your headcanon is probably just as relevant as normal canon. It's just that no one will care about it. All right. The only
Thank you.
Wait, no.
Certified.
People be hired and make their we don't want people to be hired and make their family. No, that's not our
Don't go there. That's a dark place.
Okay. All right. The point is, I think people get way too caught up in order what it's considered really is canon and whatnot, and it tends to make a lot of fandoms to be toxic. We see that in other fandoms too, like the Voltron series, where they literally try to blackmail its developers by leaking out footage if they don't make one of their OTPs canon.
To be fair,
that goes with comics too. It's like honestly, anything you say might as well be canon. There's infinite universes. What?
Power Rangers had a canon, and then it was ruined, and they went, "All right, time to give up." They just stopped. The fans just stopped caring. There's entire series that are just different universe. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's the thing. Just the point is, just try to enjoy the series itself. Don't worry about whatever it's like, whether it all connects. What? I know, right?
But is Rick and Morty canon in My Little Pony?
I don't know. Is it canon in My Little Pony?
I don't know. But there was a Rick and Morty ponies in a recent episode.
Okay, then. It's canon to you, then so be it.
Logan, that's another example of fanfiction going too far into canon. The 100th episode of My Little Pony, which just confirmed every online fan theory that would make the target audience of the show knew nothing about.
What? I don't pay attention to My Little Pony, so I
They
will.
made an episode that just confirmed every like the internet fans for the show had like fan theories. They made an entire episode to confirm all those fan theories, and all the 5-year-olds watching it are just like, I don't understand what's going on.
To both. Wait, so you said all the fan favorites?
Like Octavia, Lyra, Bon.
Okay, well you get the point I'm trying to make. So I'll just wrap it up there.
Going forward, I would like to mention that if you have a speech or a speech idea that might involve drawing something on the whiteboard that is now available and an option, and I would highly encourage that because that would be entertaining. Now, I was not originally planning on doing a speech before this meeting, but I didn't realize that we were going to have a podium, and I think I'm going to. Oh, that changes everything. No, I didn't realize that we were going to have a lectern. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off my bucket list. Please pretend that I'm addressing a penguin army. My dear penguins, we stand on a great threshold. It's okay to be scared. Many of you won't be coming back. Thanks to Batman, the time has come to punish all of God's children. First, second, third, fourth born. Why be biased? Male and female. Hell, the sexes are equal with the androgynous zones blown sky high. Forward, march! The liberation of Gotham has begun!
Next up is Yu-Gi-Oh! Is better than Magic.
For reference, Sean just said, Ryan, I'm going to write something on the board, and when it's time, you're going to need to get up and fight. I didn't know what it was. Then you did. I mean, I had some thoughts. So, I mean, the short version is how many cards are on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list?
How many cards can you play? How many cards are you just not allowed to play in Standard?
Okay, Standard is one format. Magic has lots of different formats for different play styles. In case you don't want 5-minute games that are over by turn 2 because everything's broken.
Yeah, but how many of those formats do anyone actually play at that is like in sanctioned tournaments?
Basically all of them except for Penny Dreadful, which is a fan-made tournament, fan-made format. So we have Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Brawl, which is new, Commander. Then there's the sealed formats where you don't even need to own a deck going in, like Draft and Sealed and Box Sealed, which is really weird, but I love it. There's Cubes. If you don't feel like buying more cards, you just buy all of the cards at once and draft them over and over again.
Man,
It's
that
fantastic.
sounds like a lot of rule sets that you need to balance around. Oh wait,
You're right, and they do. Okay, so basically you don't need to balance around Legacy or Vintage because.
What about Blood Moon?
Blood Moon's a balanced card. Blood Moon is a card that punishes greedy mana bases, which you wouldn't know because Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have a resource system.
Yes, your hand.
Bullshit.
The hand is your resource system.
So the correct answer is Magic the Gathering, but only if you're playing at RWAG, RIT's Board Gaming Club, which meets Tuesdays 6 to 11. So that's actually a really interesting question, and I'm glad you brought it up. So the short answer is Magic the Gathering is partially reliant on the secondary market because if they were to reprint all of the most powerful cards, a lot of people who started playing became very invested in the game, would feel betrayed, and potentially actually have grounds for lawsuits due to Wizards printing something called the reserve list. Now, why doesn't Wizards acknowledge the secondary market? Because if they did, and they acknowledge that the cards that they print have value beyond equal value because all the cards are printed on the same card stock, then they would have to be classified as gambling in Europe.
Yeah.
He asked why not, and that was the answer.
No. So Cameron, it's because all of the tournaments for both the games are sanctioned by the companies that make the game, and they want to make money. Yes.
Yeah.
They're pay to play.
Yes. They're pay to play. They are not pay to win.
Yeah,
I know that
they're
because
pay to
I know
win
lots
because
of
you need to
people
pay in order to
who
win.
spend lots of money on very good decks and lose because they're bad at the game. It's one part skill, one part luck, one part your decision on what you choose to play given the current metagame.
And the same is true. And the same is true in Yu-Gi-Oh, where
Not true.
one surprisingly expensive deck is Crystal Beast, and it's expensive for no reason. It's really bad.
So it's actually really interesting because in the past 2 times we've had a large scale modern tournament, both times, thank you, both times Fro's playing Hearthstone for me, which is the 3rd card game, which I think we can both agree is worse than Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic. That's not true. It's better than Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, it's better than Magic.
All right, can we just talk? All right, I want to actually take this time to talk about the worst
Man, I
card game.
love bricking by drawing my mana. That's by drawing my mana when I need a card to play.
Man, I love vomiting my hand in one turn. What? Mech card? Oh my god. All right, let me talk to you about Mech card.
Right,
The greatest
thing to do in a card game is to play the plays that I put in my deck.
All right, so let me talk to you about Mech card, the greatest card game. All right, so Mech
So
card
is Magic.
Are you kidding? Magic's been around for 20 years. Yu-Gi-Oh's barely made it past
15.
15.
Okay, but Ryan, which Hearthstone card do you need?
We'll talk about it later. All right, so really quick, there's a game called Mech Card. I'm not even going to listen to him. There's a game called Mech Card. And how it works is you put cards down in front of your cars, your toy cars, then you roll your toy cars into the cards and they transform into robots. Best toy idea ever.
And Ryan,
what I think it can get from all those is they're going to keep bickering all night, and the rest of us should just play the Harry Potter trading card game. Bow before my foil Norbert.
What about Star Wars?
Next up we have Han Solo.
Oh, he brought his laptop.
Yes, but my vanishing
Okay.
card makes me lose one.
So instead of taking advantage of the whiteboard, because my artistic skills are perhaps a little bit undersold, I have a visual aid that I will be revealing to everyone in just a moment. But my question is, regardless of your opinion on the new Han Solo or the new Star Wars movies as opposed to the old Star Wars movies, this in no way, shape, or form looks like Harrison Ford. Do you know who this looks like? This looks like Alex. Alex, please come up to the front and stand next to this picture of you, basically. Tell me, look at the similarities.
It's my movie. I've always wanted this. I got into Hollywood and I didn't even know.
So, in short, Alex and I are going to be going to the Han Solo premiere. He's going to be dressing in a Han Solo costume. I'm bringing my Chewbacca onesie. We're going to take all the pictures. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
And next up, the joys of Mystery Science Theater.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Mystery Science Theater 3000 is awesome and hilarious. And I also love, and another reason why it's so awesome is because it inspires so many other people to follow in its footsteps and continue the noble tradition of making fun of bad stories. And this is something I've actually done, and it's super awesome. I've made fun of bad fanfics, bad books, bad movies, and it's really quite an enjoyable experience. I think that for a couple reasons. One is that it's, first of all, you get to make tons of references to all the stuff that you like, because, you know, if a character said, let's say that a story is riddled with cliches and famous cliche quotes. If the quote sounds similar enough to something in something you like, just throw up the quote from the thing that you like, you know, and there you go. But one of the, and it's also a great way of calling attention to things that are really disturbing and offensive in stories. I don't know how many of you remember when Twilight first became popular and suddenly a ton of these MSTs, as they're called, sprung up to talk about all the sexism and racism and stuff that those books contained. But that's another good use for MSTs. However, one of my personal favorite things about it is the way that it just helps you appreciate something that's good. Like, if I'm watching a really bad show, and I know of a good show that does similar things, then I can say, oh, so that's what that particular device looks like when it's done poorly, and this is what it looks like when it's done well. And that just enhances my appreciation of the things that I do like all the more. So, in short, MSTing, or making fun of bad stories, is totally fun and awesome, and I think everybody should do it at least once. Thank you.
Next up, we have librarians.
It might sound ineffective. It might sound just boring, but in truth, it is both a wonderful movie series and a wonderful TV series. A perfect melding of both sci-fi and fantasy. Now, the original 3 movies came out, where it has this boring, goofy little nerd who was basically a career student. He had, I forget how many doctorates. He had about like 20 something, maybe a little bit more. He was going for more while still living at his mother's house, until he got this very strange envelope, a job offer from the Metropolitan Library. Sounds very boring, sounds very normal, until he finds out that it's not for actually running the library, it's for running the archive that's underneath it. An archive of historical and mythological items that should never see the light of day because they are the most powerful things on the planet. So he has to use science to defeat magic and mysticism and everything else. The first movie, he has to stop the previous librarian from getting a hold of the Spear of Destiny. Second movie, he finds King Solomon's mines. And the third, he finds the Judas Chalice, which actually somehow revives dead vampires for some reason. But the reason why it's so great is because of what it created. A continuation that a number of years down the road, they brought around a TV series in which they brought back the original librarian to bring in some newbies. A goofy ragtag group of super intelligent individuals from all sorts of different parts of life. You have a girl who has a brain tumor that is able to use synthesia to do magic and process mathematical equations unlike any supercomputer we have. We have a goofy pickpocket, thief, and all-around kind of a jerk, but he actually loves people, but he treats them like crap. And then you have little country bumpkin that, he actually knows more about art than most of the artists that painted the art. And with this ragtag group, they actually do a lot of wonderful things, including save Santa Claus, which is even funnier, seeing as the guy who played Santa Claus was Ash from the Evil Dead. Exactly. And you think it's even goofier because he's not just the classic Santa Claus. No, he's every Santa Claus. And because he gets messed with, he goes through multiple iterations of the Santa Claus. And it causes a lot of fun. Yes?
Even the one from Elf Bowling the movie?
No. I mean, actual historical representations of Santa Claus. So he becomes jolly
St. Nicholas. 2007 is pretty historical now, with it being more than 10 years ago.
Alcoholic is counted. But yeah, he becomes like St. Nicholas. He becomes a little bit more of the harsher forms of Santa, including, well, Odin, where he starts a full bar fight just because he's a little bored and doesn't want to follow orders.
Oh, and what about that one Santa Claus that conquered the Martians?
Excellent. Then that is an interesting story. But all around, watch the library. And there's more rackets outside. But yeah, librarians are not just the boring people. They can save your life.
All right, next up we have why time travel is literally the worst plot device.
Who am I fighting? Cameron, really?
Yes, Cameron, really. Okay, this topic will involve Infinity War spoilers. Like, heavy Infinity War spoilers. Like, just as heavy as it gets. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and intend to, then I will shout even louder when we're done here.
I was just closing the door. And
Yeah,
then
close the door.
reopening it.
I will attempt to project slightly less.
We'll come get you.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll come get you when we're done. Okay, so I'm gonna give them 30 seconds to get out of earshot, and then I'm just gonna jump right in.
Everyone else I've ever seen or don't care enough.
Well, I love that. Good job, we said Ensign? Cool. All right. So time, as soon as you like show that your time travel device can alter the future, like we do see at the end where, you know, they destroy the Mind Stone and Vision dies, and then they just, Thanos comes over, he's like, oh, I'm just going to undo time, and now Vision's not dead anymore. Nothing in the series, nothing forevermore has any weight ever. Nothing that anyone does matters, because the only person whose will and opinion matters is the person with the time stone, not the gauntlet, just the time stone. Because they go, oh wow, I certainly didn't like how that happened. Let me undo time. And fix it exactly the way I want to. That's what's going to happen in Infinity War 2, easily. They're just going to go back in time and undo everyone that died, because there's no way that they actually killed all of those characters. The characters that died via stabbing are probably dead, but the characters that are gone with the wind are certainly coming back because money. But yes, so basically, this extends past Infinity War 2. Like, the only franchise that does time travel well is Back to the Future. And that's because it's a fun 80s movie that doesn't really care about its own inner consistency. It's just like, let's have a time travel car and see what sort of shenanigans and hijinks happen. Okay, people are upset. I'm going to swing this way. Ryan.
Time travel can be done well, as long as you give limitation to the device that allows you to travel through time. Such as Back to the Future, or Ars Paradoxica, or like, no. Doctor Who is a good show. It doesn't do time travel well.
Weird.
Or Power Rangers Time Force. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, don't hate time travel just because a lot of people are bad at writing it.
No, if you have limitations on your time travel, if you have rules that the universe has to work with, then yes, I suppose that works. But as soon as you set the precedent that anyone can just go, yeah, no, thank you, then your entire series doesn't hold any weight anymore. Nothing you do matters. Nothing has any impact because Joe Schmuck can undo it if he feels like it. Second.
Okay. A lot of these complaints have to do with two issues. One is that there are different theories of time travel that fall into basically 4 buckets, and then the ones where the writers clearly just don't care, which obviously have their own problems. And the second issue is with the difference between writing something that was always meant to have time travel as a mechanic versus adding it later. I think knew Dan Simon when he was still a student here, and he had he was a strong supporter of the idea that if a show that is not about time travel introduces time travel, that show has probably jumped the shark. And that is fairly consistently true, because when you add time travel later, you probably haven't thought through all the implications of time travel in your universe.
On the other hand, unfortunately, the best example that comes to mind is Zero Escape, which I know other people don't know, but it uses a similar theory of time travel to Star Trek, where going back in time creates branching timelines, and then with the extra ability of characters to jump between those different timelines. But by building those mechanics into the story from the start, instead of introducing them later in the story, it's able to properly explore the implications of you can go back in time and change things, but the timeline in which you didn't change things still exists, and you can still go back there, and everyone you left in that timeline is still dealing with the aftermath of whatever decision you initially made, thus removing time travel being a cop-out.
Okay, moving. Noah.
Star Wars Rebels Season 4 spoiler. Oh boy. So, I don't know how deep I want to go into this. Basically, they use time travel to save the life of one character, and then they want to do it again. But they're like, oh, hey, maybe I shouldn't, because he's supposed to die. And then the guy's like, yeah, all right, I guess. So, like, they write in time travel, realize there's no way to write out time travel, and just kind of give up on it. And it makes no sense. And Star Wars Rebels Season 4 is terrible, and that's just one of the reasons why I'm so angry.
Comments to Noah.
Okay, comments to Noah.
How do you feel about the fact that Palpatine can't use the time travel because he's impure of heart?
Star Wars Rebels is terrible.
Okay, other comments on Noah.
On Noah? Why didn't Ahsoka help Luke? Well, gee, maybe it's because she just shouldn't time travel. He was there.
Okay. I want to explain how this works. Okay, all right, go for it.
Season 2, like, Ahsoka fights Vader. He's about to kill her. Like, cuts away, so we see her like walking down into like some deep tunnel. So in Season 4, they open up a portal right when that happens. Jump out, reach in, grab her out of the way of Vader's lightsaber into the time dimension, and he misses her because she's in like the time dimension. Yes.
Are you the Marvel part? Should we bring back those guys? Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. What if I told you that Jojo can't use time to Jojo can't have within himself? Case in point, what happened to Collector's Being when he began to talk to
So maybe Joe Schmo can't, but we know there's a large collection of people who can, with very opposing viewpoints and ideals.
There's like two paths. There's another wizard.
Here's another wizard.
He's still alive.
Oh.
We don't know he's still alive.
Yeah, we don't. We've
Why
never seen him.
So
yeah,
they're
no,
gonna start with like, yeah, also die off screen.
Okay,
They will.
concede that not just anyone can do it, but there is a large collection of people with very opposing viewpoints towards how the universe should be, and basically whoever's in control of that one stone, not even the whole gauntlet. The whole gauntlet is peanuts compared to the time stone. Sure, you can snap your fingers and wipe out half the galaxy, but also if I've got that one little rock, I can go back to right before you did that, and then I've got your rock. And it doesn't matter. Nothing is more powerful, no matter how magic wish granting you can make it. Time travel is just too good. I'm gonna rotate back.
You bend reality itself and make time no longer an issue.
But then I just go back in time before you bend reality and I win. Okay, Joe.
You don't get a time stone. Other sections of the MCU have established other ways of time travel, and we hadn't known the rules about time travel, but you just pointed out that Infinity Sword established those rules, and that has the implications for other things.
So great, yeah. There's 12 rocks that I can grab. One of the 12, and then I just need to be like jump back furthest and kill baby Thanos. All right.
First of all, you're gonna hate me. Rebels started before season 4.
Yeah.
Very unique episode 2. And
You're making another
basically, what if you need to do more than bring time stone back? What if they're all stuck in like a skull stone or something? Then they have to kill themselves to get into the skull stone.
You just gotta go back in time,
before he'd snapped his fingers and shoot web on his glove, and you're good to go.
But it does.
Yeah, but we already know that it can. So, anyone, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spoilers? Anyone hyper concerned? Okay. Alex, what you were talking about the other day at lunch?
Okay, so
Wait. No, up to where? Where is that spoiler?
we stopped right as they get back from future space, and then three of them are.
I'm assuming just.
They're convinced that they can't die because they saw themselves in the future.
But now we know from Infinity War that you can change the future.
So I just on that. So rather the nebulous point of that, other MCU stuff has said it so that, or rather implied that time, like no matter what you do, it falls into the idea of that, that infinite loop where, you went back in time to change things so that things are changed already in your timeline because someone went back and changed them, and don't think about it too hard because then it all falls apart. And if that was the case, where even if you went back and changed time, it wouldn't change the result, that has already been defeated in Infinity War because they destroyed the gem. And then Thanos was like, nope, I just changed the course of how it goes. So if they had like set a precedent where you can go back in time, but you can't actually change the result, maybe, but they didn't. So
There's also maybe a thing of you can change the future, but there's people who can see the future. If they see it, then you can't change that.
That makes even less sense. That's kind of the Doctor Who theory. This is a very loose version of the single time, the theory that there's a single timeline and it's just keep getting rewritten, which is the easiest one to write because it lets you be so inconsistent, whereas maintaining multiple distinct timelines where every action creates a new timeline is way more difficult to keep track of as a writer, but also way easier to have reliable continuity if you are tracking what's happened in each of those timelines.
I'm giving this topic one more minute before we call people back in.
I would like to mention that I get the scientific limitations to the time stuff. So the thing about time travel and the time stone being separate in the Marvel universe is that time travel would bring one person to another point in that location. Whereas the time stone you can use it more selectively and in more ways, i.e. Dormammu and Thor. But they have also discussed in Doctor Strange movie that showcased the time stone originally that there are serious consequences to using the time stone. And if you use it irresponsibly in a way that could potentially alter reality on a larger scale, it might even create a time loop or a paradox. And although they didn't really go into much depth on what that would do, I assume it's pretty world breaking as well.
Like a tracking. Okay, that's time on this topic. Hey, time. All right. So unless someone wants to go back in time and stop me from ever coming up here, I'm gonna step off.
The bell comes due, Cameron. Time to go. The bell comes due.
Yes, it does. So there are going to be spoilers for The Last Jedi. So if you haven't watched that, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I know, but still, people are slow. Yes. Let me begin by saying I like Rey as a character. I like Kylo Ren as a character. Sorry, am I supposed to say that on live stream? I friggin' hate it when they put them together. First of all, because it invalidates their entire storyline of Rey being an independent character, and she doesn't need a man, which the fandom seems to think she does. And then he becomes like, oh, her savior. Oh, I'm gonna teach you everything. Don't worry, you're gonna come to the dark side with me. Like, I don't fucking care. I'm sorry if I can't do it. What? Okay.
Hate flow through you.
I will. It's so terrible. And so one thing I did want them to do, just so that they would fucking stop all of the Raylo shippers, was they would confirm that they were related somehow. So then they would all be fucking incest shippers, and they would stop. I know they would. It would deter the main fandom at least. I wanted them to do that, so they would just stop. But they didn't, of course, and they added more. Oh, ships. Oh, we're connected. Oh, it wasn't me. I connected you. I don't care. I don't care at all.
What did it become best friends?
No, I don't want them to have any relationship whatsoever. I want her to look at him as she should have been like, "You're a loser." And that is pretty much the whole of my feelings. And yes, Joe.
You're right. Ray doesn't need a man. She needs a robot. BB Ray's best ship.
Yes. Okay. Okay, John, you had your hand up at one point.
I was just going to bring up that there is no better show of chemistry than you don't mean anything. You're nothing.
Okay, let's get into the negging while we're at it.
Okay, to be fair.
No, Joe. You don't get to justify his shitty action.
Yeah, I have to agree with Cameron. I would rather.
I love it. That like animal.
Told me
I hate that.
I am marginally better than Flash.
I want to make a point about Raylo.
With someone advances I'm sitting at the other end of a long table.
So I want to make a point about Raylo. They first meet when Kylo Ren knocks her out, and then she wakes up tied to a chair. And he's there interrogating her. That's creepy as fuck.
Oh, also, yeah, it was a really weird BDSM scene, and also he like takes off his mask, and he's like, "Oh, he's so sexy. Look at how wonderful he is." I don't care at all. If anything, I wanted him to be an alien, because that would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
And then she learns the Jedi mind trick. Make James Bond let her go.
God, there's anyway, Raylo sucks, and no one can convince me otherwise. Yes. No, we just talked about how bad that is. Yes, Bobby.
One thing that makes it even worse is the fact that how they were created and what the storyteller did in a way with them is basically them trying to rip off from the original books. Jason and Jaina, which were twin siblings, and it's creepy as hell if you think about the fact that these characters are somewhat based off of these two siblings.
And the movies won't stop hinting. It's like, oh, they're sort of in a thing, maybe. No. Ava, would you have your hand, or were you just?
I'm so.
Okay. Any other comments about how Raylo sucks? Yes. Yes. Michael Cooper.
You heard
the idea of a really terrible boyfriend who says any terrible thing and then trying to protect you. Isn't that the type of people they were going for with Kylo Ren to begin with?
Listen, I didn't go to Star Wars to get real life. I went to Star Wars to have Wookiees and robots that roll around because they're spherical, and I wanted space drama. I didn't want maybe not those. Anyway, I'm just gonna end it there. Raylo sucks, and no, it is not a good plot device, and I hate that they ever teased it.
I would like to mention before continuing that we are reaching 8:45 right now. Meetings normally go to 9-ish, but I assume we're gonna have kind of a soft ending where we can go over a little bit. But if you continue writing topics, they might get cut off depending on when we stop. But the next one up is the original Avengers with the little umbrella.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
Why?
because
Something Sean Connery in a giant teddy bear mask.
No, not that. That is the bad movie. That is a bad movie and a bad try at a remake and a reboot. I'm talking about the original Avengers. I love Marvel and the Avengers, but the thing is, there was something older that had the name first. And I'm talking about a wonderful spy drama that came out in 1961, which the Avengers comics started in 63, so therefore, afterwards. Now, the original spy drama was basically the origination of the Gentleman Spy. It is the origination of a suave, sophisticated British intelligence agent walking around with a very nice hat and an umbrella, where you get the similarities with, say, James Bond, or now the Kingsman, with a nice, sophisticated, how do you do, taking and tipping of the hat and trying to be a gentleman. However, what did it first? The Avengers. Now, it was a man and a woman that would go undercover trying to thwart very poorly run schemes by some very, very egomaniacal and somewhat moronic villains, where they will try to do some nefarious plot only to be thwarted by a very, very well-mannered, very well-dressed individual just sitting there and talking to them most of the time. Little action, more of a don't do that again now. And it's hilarious and great. And the original Avengers. And don't talk about that movie again. Tom Bradbury was great, but it was
No, he wasn't. He really wasn't. Disagree.
Is your laptop? What's up?
No. Why are you the one talking about the DCCU? I thought I wrote that and forgot.
Right. Okay, so what I have to say is very simple. Justice League. Budget of about $300 million. In total, it got $650-some million. Infinity War. Budget about $300 million. First weekend, it's already over $640-some million. This is what happens when you actually take the time to build your world. Thank you. I know, right? All right. Anyway, that was all I had. So now I'm going to hand it over to of all time.
Oh!
All right. So it's clear that I'm actually the greatest comms officer of all time. The email format that we all know and love today was pioneered by me. Sure, it started off as a joke and hey, let's make clickbait emails, but you know what? It's become so much more than that. It's a convenient, abbreviated sequence of all of the information that you need right at your fingertips. Nobody reads paragraphs, people read bullet points. The only thing that we need moving forward, and my only shortcoming, is GIFs. GIFs is the only thing missing from my pristine email format.
GIF.
You're wrong. And you know what? That's disqualified you from this.
So here's the thing. You're neglecting the most important thing, which makes me the best comms officer, which is that part of the comms officer's duty is to reach out to other clubs. And I reached out to RWAG so hard, I became their president. Clearly, I'm the best comms officer.
I play lightsaber duels.
Jack, what about food and chicken, eggs, and peanut butter?
That's the joke.
You're all wrong. Bobby Pruden.
Okay, so like full disclosure, I tried to get Bobby on the video chat also, but he's busy tonight.
So yeah, so basically what it comes down to is yes, it is I, the greatest comms officer of all time. Now moving forward in the paved pathway, as set on coming now before me is best comms officer, the best first officer, the best captain of all time.
I haven't screwed up once.
Neither has Hammer.
I was the best wrestling, but no one will convince me otherwise.
No. I'm the best comms officer because I haven't made a mistake yet.
No one! No one turn me down!
No! I'm out of basic.
Who's flying the plane?
Thank you.
So yes, that happened. You don't have to. I'll do it. All right.
I don't know how to follow up to that. That's all.
Yeah.
There's no way I could follow up to that.
I don't know. Over at the end.
I don't know. I'm setting designers.
Can your talk just be you turning it and less listening to it?
Okay, so Smash Brothers coming to the Switch. Who's excited for that? Woohoo! Think of all the great characters. Think of all the great characters you can get in the game. Guess what? None of them are going to be in the game. Because Inklings. Because guess what? You guys want Gino or Goku and all them?
I want Mike Jones.
Listen,
them too.
I want to close Jones. Logan.
Well, guess what? None of them are going to be in the game. You know why? Because according to the Smash community, some unknown character is going to take their spot. That's the only reason.
Is there unknown character
Perhaps. Hey, I play Fire Emblem, so I'm will be happy.
But here's the thing. The Smash community loves the other members of the Smash community. Who's a prominent member of the Smash community? Dan Salvato. Therefore, Monica for Smash.
Monica. No one's got Monica. No one.
I don't think we've actually had a car Smash Brothers.
Nope.
Besides stage transitions. Besides stages. What?
5.
Okay. Well, anyways, so you might think, well, maybe they don't get this character because they already have too much of one franchise, or we don't exactly have the licensing, or Goku isn't originally a video game character. Well, guess what? No, it's actually because Inklings. I don't know. That's apparently what fandoms always say that kind of stuff, and that's why you're not going to get Gino and Smash Brothers, people. Dude, they already have like 6 Fire Emblem characters out.
Only 6 out of 6.
Yeah, and they still have 50, like, they still have like 30 plus other characters, dude. They have 8 Mario Brothers characters. Well, no, an Advance Wars game haven't came out since forever. Blame Joe. No, blame the weebs, not the game. Well, it became one. Fair. Fair.
All games are weeb games. You're a weeb.
Yeah,
Hey, I have characters that I would love to smash. They're not gonna happen. Sure, why not have Slayer while you're at it then? Yes, an amiibo.
Is Pac-Man still in?
I don't know. We don't even know if it's just Smash for Smash 4, a port of Smash 4, or a brand new game. I have no idea.
They're gonna make a storyline.
I wish. But the bottom of a lot of things. But Central Amazon is really fun.
But like Princess is technically the same engine as Windmaker.
The reason why I didn't have a Subspace Emissary was because the creator was pissed that the cutscenes were posted online. It's a video game. People share stuff online.
Subspace Emissary was developed before. But Subspace Emissary was in development when YouTube had just been acquired by Google. That's how long ago that was.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I don't think it was good enough reason to like just scratch it entirely.
I mean, it also got a lot of absolutely love
Fair. Hey, it was still for a fighting game. It had a pretty fun platform.
Yeah, I would love another defense like that.
They had it for something similar to it for DS. No one played it.
No, Smash
because
is a standalone multiplayer mode, not a story.
I know. I played it. Albeit it's not really a great mode. Albeit it's better than the Mario Party knockoff on the Wii U.
No, I actually really love Smash Run. I think it would be even better like with the Switch having the processing power to handle people interacting in the Smash Run world. Because I feel like that's what it is missing from the Switch style. But I still think it's a great mode.
The problem with Smash Run is that the end mode is always random, so it's like it doesn't really matter what stats you build up.
I mean, but that's the same with.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so then, and Smash Brothers, be excited. Just don't be too excited because your favorite characters that you've been wanting so much are probably not going to be in the game.
Goku for Smash.
Dom
for Smash.
He's an assist trophy. Don't you remember?
Yeah.
Hey, assist trophies need love too.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't know. So, next up is Save Sakurai. No, that was Save Sakurai.
No, that was
All your characters are going to be in Smash.
Okay. Hi. I'm here to talk about why I'm not excited for Super Smash Bros. For the Switch. Because I'm used to these discussions. I had my list after Melee came out, and after Brawl came out, and after Smash 4 came out, of all the characters and stages and new game modes and stuff that I wanted in Smash Bros. Games, including back after Melee came out. I did draw up a moveset for Waluigi, and I have seen the work that Sakurai has put into these games that he has raised like they were his own children. The attention to detail, the ridiculous amount of content that has been crammed onto these discs with like more music options than any other game of its type. The detail in like designing every character to have a unique home run bat stance.
games. Yeah, the number of characters, the number of stages, the fact that since Brawl, each of these games has included other video games that you can play inside the game. And I have, but while like during the development of Brawl, I was mostly excited just like to see these updates. Since then, I like, among other things, studied game design, but also like heard more about like the behind the scenes stuff and like the amount of work it took to make Smash Bros. Games and the physical and mental suffering that Sakurai endured to bring each of these games to fans. And I'm okay with never getting enough Smash Bros. Games if that's what it takes for Sakurai to be okay, because he does not deserve all the crap that he gets from the community. So as much as these discussions are of like, I want this character, I want that character, are fun, please let Sakurai be okay.
Next up is Draco in leather pants plus Ron the Death Eater.
Oh no! Is that a My Immortal reference? Hello?
Okay, so a bit of terminology for all of you. For those of you who don't know, Draco in leather pants is what happens when a bunch of fans decide that they like the villain more than the hero, and so they decide to turn him into an object of desire and basically treat him as an awesome and wonderful person. Ron the Death Eater is the reverse. It's when they take a really nice and likable character and turn him into a stupid jerk for no other reason than the fans don't like him. So that's the context we're working with here. I bring this up because because I MST, as I just said, I've been studying Draco and Leather Pants and Ron the Death Eater in the wild for quite a long time. And what's really interesting about Draco and Leather Pants in particular is that there's actually two different ways that I've seen it done. First of all, you have the kind of thing that you get in My Immortal, where the Draco character is depicted as a poor little small bean who did nothing wrong and probably only needed some hot loving from a good woman to turn into a perfect angel of warmth and kindness. Like I said, My Immortal's a good example of this. It has Draco Malfoy being a weepy love interest for the heroine enemy darkness dementia raven tear away for no apparent reason, and they listen to Good Charlotte and My Chemical Romance, also for no apparent reason. That's the way that most people who study this concept think of when they think of Draco in leather pants. The other way to be a Draco in leather pants fan, however, entails acknowledging that the villain has done some really bad stuff and liking the villain because of it. Not loving to hate villains, to be clear, but treating the villain's bad deeds as if they were somehow admirable. This is more unusual, but it does happen. One of the classic examples of this is brace yourselves. I promise you this is real. I know it sounds ridiculous. A fanfic in the Hunchback of Notre Dame fandom in which someone falls in love with the villain and helps him kill Esmeralda and all her friends. And this is supposed to be a good thing. That is real. It exists. I have seen it. Yeah. So that's basically Draco and leather pants in a nutshell. And I wish that people would. I actually really wish that there was more serious discussion about the different types of Draco and leather pants, because it's honestly a fascinating topic that's not explored. On the subject of Ron the Death Eater, real quick. Ron the Death Eater, as I mentioned, do you have a question?
Well, not so much as I just wanted to continue talking about Draco and leather pants, as I think the reason why we see it so prominently is because a lot of the people in fandoms are teenage girls, let's be honest, or like the majority of the fan fiction community I see are teenage girls. So I can sort of see how that sort of phenomenon has grown because they like a bad boy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Except that it's not just teenage girls who do this. Like, the person who wrote that Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mary Suffolk, was a grown woman, at least according to her biography. And I've seen boys and men who write things like this too. So that's probably part of it. I'm not sure if it's all of it. But there is one other point I want to make via Ron the Death Eater. As I said, Ron the Death Eater is doing the opposite of Draco and Leather Pants. It's taking a character we're supposed to like and turning him into an obnoxious jerk. In my experience, I've actually seen Ron the Death Eater quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon fanfics, for instance, that take bit characters and turn them into evil, abusive monsters for no apparent reason. What worries me is that although I'm not sure Ron the Death Eater is actually rarer, but it receives a lot less criticism and ridicule in the fandom. And I wondered about this for a while, but don't have a good explanation. Anyway, that's just an interesting fandom trend I noticed. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have the conspiracy of the 9 circles. Wait, oh, I did. No, my bad. I'm sorry. I messed up my erasing.
Cameron, you told us earlier about how you don't like time travel, and I wanted to counter it with the greatest time travel story ever told. But I can't because it was never told. It was the movie was pitched, and then they just never made it. But the pitch sounds amazing, and yes, I am talking about the unmade Muppet time travel movie. No, the plot was Bunsen and Beaker build a time machine. Animal gets into it, goes all the way back to the start of humanity, and becomes the ancestor of becomes the missing link, basically. Animal becomes the missing link. Meanwhile, so then in the present, all the humans are now animal human, or all basically animal, and the Muppets are like, oh, that's not good. We should go back in time and find Animal, make this not happen. And I'm sure they have zany adventures on the way, but we don't know because it was never told. But they should have made it because I'm sure it would have been better than Muppets from Space and Wizard of Oz.
The bar. Are you talking about actual?
Which are still good movies, but they're like low bar for the series.
That was very much on purpose, not an accident. Yes, I am. Okay. Now it's time for the conspiracy of the 9 circles.
What the hell?
Prepare for memes. So, about, I want to say a month and a half ago was the Howie Club mission, correct?
Yeah.
So, during postering for that, I saw a slight issue with the poster. These star circles. Zachary, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, no.
This marker has no tip. Silence. The star circles are roughly 4 on top, 5 on the bottom, all meet up correctly like this, touching each other. I am bad at drawing, I apologize. Another one here. And that's what it shows in the Google Doc, in the G Drive, correct? Right?
Exactly.
Right?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah, this is exactly what it is in the G Drive.
Yeah.
In the Howie Club poster.
It is intentionally different.
Yes. What does it mean? What does it mean, Zachary? Why is it over here?
It means that okay, so a ridiculous amount of time went into figuring out where the vertical line in the T and star should go. And where it ended up is where we decided it looked best, but it is not, to be perfectly honest, was more eyeballed by the people who worked on the final logo, because any sort of like, this is where it would mathematically go with the rest of the circles didn't look good from just a people looking at it standpoint.
So wait, you're telling me that for these past years, you've been telling me to draw it like that, with the circles, for this long.
No, I've been telling
you have been lied to, Froyo.
Froyo, do not listen to his lies.
Also, you lied to me, sir. I did not.
That's it.
Pacific Rim has the hottest next, bar none. Shockingly, not by me.
What?
You're unfair. We've done some pictures together. We did. Yes.
That's where we know you
We
film.
fly together. We die together.
Yes. Hi, I'm Brett. You might have met me sometimes. This last, I think, fall, I was in the battle thing. You might not have met me at all. Pacific Rim is something near and dear to my heart. It's not just because it's an emotional movie, because it's got the hottest mechs bar none. These mechs are the kind that will take care of you when you need taken care of. For comparison, let's use, because I've been playing it recently, Battletech. Battle mechs. Interesting, cool, realistic, not hot. Not at all. Most of them don't have arms. Some of them have chicken legs. One of them is literally called the Hunchback. One of them is a trash can. Not spicy. Evangelion. Close. Good. Love the series. Not something you take home to mom. Some of them are your mom. You don't want that. The legs are good. We're getting places with Evangelion. What else? Gundam. Gundam comes so close, but recently it's gotten further away. Some of them are chunky. Most of them feel a little bit too light, I think, especially the newer designs. They're all about flash. There's no substance. Universal Century is good, though. 8th MS team, solid stuff. Real robots are good. Megazords. They're all right. They're all right. They're nice and beefy. You know they can take care of you. They're basically 5 people in one. This is good. Pacific Rim. Why are they so good? Why are they so good? I think it's just a lot to do with the silhouette. It's not particularly recognizable, but it's solid. It's there to protect you. That's its entire design function. The torso, Gypsy Danger, Striker Eureka, that's some beef.
Striker Eureka is the type of person that shows up everywhere in a Harley Davidson and a leather jacket. It's like, what's up?
On time. But you like him anyway. Exactly on time.
He
brings the burgers. He knows how to work the grill. He will take care of you. The legs. These mechs aren't even just about the upper body. They have the leg power to back it up. And with the Jaeger, it's not just, you're not just getting one, you're getting 2 for 1. There are 2 pilots.
Sometimes 3.
Sometimes 3.
Maybe 4.
As a wise man once told me, when I first saw Pacific Rim, where would you rather die? Here or in a Jaeger? I would rather die inside of the Jaeger, thank you very much.
Yeah, he left.
Oh man. All right. Oh man. Oh jeez. All right. So I would like to welcome everyone to tonight, the final meeting of RWAG. RAT. Oh, wrong speech. My bad. All right. So, for the most of you that don't actually know me, okay. Yeah, I might cry. Who knows? All right, I'm feeling the love. All right, so for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Ryan. I was the comms officer 3 years ago. I have started since the beginning. All right, I'm feeling a little. I have been with STAR since my 2nd year at RAT. My first year of RAT was the first year of STAR, so we kind of grew together, and we both got a lot bigger over the years. Jokes. I just wanted to talk about my experience and how incredible it has been. Oh God, it's just, STAR is a club that takes you and never lets go. And I say that in the best way, that like my entire life like kind of sprung out of the club. And I don't mean that the club took over my life, which it kind of did. But the people I met here, the friends I made here are my friends, and they're the closest people that I know. And they're the ones that the friends that I'm going to stay in touch with as I graduate, as I move away. And this is probably my last STAR mission,
And so basically what I'm saying is underclassmen love this shit because it does not get any better than this.
I expect Torcon levels of awesomeness 10 years time, damn it.
Starfest is going to be so much bigger than literally everything except Rudicon. We're coming back, I promise. So yeah, I just wanted to thank every bridge crew that's come before me, the bridge crews that came, the bridge crews that came before me, bridge crews that came after me. You've all done incredible work, and I'm really proud of this club, and I love you guys, and I'm gonna go cry.
Wait, Ryan, before you go, there's one thing I want to say. Oh no, that I want you to know that I know a lot of times you feel like maybe you haven't had like a huge impact on this club, but I am honest to God here today because of you. Like when I hopped on PR committee and you came up to me and you called me your broster. Seriously, that shit. I forgot. Yeah, no, that like I was like, wow, this guy on the e-board, like he cares about me. Just some schmuck freshman who showed up to PR committee because God knows why, and he showed like an actual like investment in me, and like I felt a personal connection with him, and because like first mission he was like, hey, I like steampunk stuff, and I came up and I showed you this watch. Oh my God! And I said, this is this cool watch. That's a pretty cool watch. It is a really cool watch. I was like, I have. Freshman year of college, I am not the person I was today. I'm significantly less confident, eloquent. I was like, I'm gonna talk to this guy. I think he might kind of like my watch. And I awkwardly went up to Ryan and I said, hey, I got this watch. You were like, oh man, that's really cool. I was like, it is really cool. And like from there, I was like, this is a community of like welcoming, accepting people that I want to be a part of and I want to contribute to, and that's because of Ryan.
Also, the first time I met him, he told me about Guns of Icarus. I still haven't played it.
Okay, I play enough for both of us. Also, I got in the store because of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, when you guys showed it in booth, like 4 years ago at this point.
Before we worried about silly things like the law and licensing.
Yep. Before, like, it was literally just like the original keyboard, and I showed up. So it's like,
Star has grown so much, and it's such a great thing to be proud of.
All right, everyone. On that sentimental note, as there are no more signups for today.
Have you raised them all?
Well, yes. All right, thank you, Ryan. Keeping up what we expect of you.
I mean, he's been mentioned always before that.
So it is my honor to close my first mission here as the captain. Closing announcements are we're going to move in. We're going to do a short debrief, probably just off in that corner. I don't want to shift this around too much. Probably do it just right here on this table. Anyone who wants to talk about this mission in particular, or even a little bit, a couple minutes of the year as a whole, I invite you all to come sit with our new bridge crew and just talk about how things went. Otherwise, you are more than welcome to go. Thank you all so much for showing up here today for our pomp and circumstance and our little improvisational show. Once again, thank you all so much, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the year.